Well, Dubai is known for its multinational and multicultural population. This does offer challenges for business. Often securing information that can broaden knowledge and speed up processes is invaluable, from laws and regulations to immigration and employment issues. Now companies wanting to set up in Dubai International Financial Centre have the second edition of a guide to helping businesses get started at DIFC. And for those already operating, there's a resource of up-to-date information to call on. Well, the guide was put together by PricewaterhouseCoopers, and Ashraf Jamal is our guest today on Inside Business. Thanks a lot for coming in today, Jamal.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, Ashraf, how extensive are the rules and regulations when it comes to setting up at Dubai International Financial Centre?
As you know, the regulator of the DIFC is the Dubai Financial Services Authority, or the DFSA. And the approach to regulation adopted by the DFSA is pretty sort of risk-based and risk-focused. At the same time, quite pragmatic. And I think the extent of regulation depends on the category of license that you apply for. There are 4 categories of licenses that the DFSA have. And the category 1 is applying for a full-fledged banking license, followed by an investment company, an asset manager, and then on the advisory side is a category 4. So the extent of regulation depends on the activities and the operations of the licensed entity within the DIFC.
Now, the fact that there is a guide, does that sort of by nature say that the procedure is a little bit complicated?
It doesn't really sort of imply that the procedures are complicated. There is a process and a procedure, as with any other regulatory environment in the world. And the purpose of the guide really is to sort of give the applicants or licensees coming in an understanding of the regulatory environment, the process involved in applying for a license, and then again on the legal side, with the register of companies at the DIFC, in terms of applying for registration as a branch or as a subsidiary. So it just sets out the processes, but doesn't by any means imply that it's a complicated process.
Now, what's the take-up been like? Because the first edition has already been published. You're into the second edition now. What changes, what additions are in the second edition that weren't in the first?
I think the second edition sort of obviously captures the new laws that have come out, some of the earlier laws that have been amended, changes to the regulatory regime as the DIFC sort of attains maturity from a new centre. And the processes involved in actually getting a license have also changed to make it more sort of user-friendly, more sort of receptive.
Who is the guide, who's it aimed towards?
The guide is specifically aimed at people actually wanting to set up, in terms of taking them through the legal process involved in setting up, the regulatory process, giving them an understanding of the various categories you can set up under, as well as the various legal vehicles you can use to set up as a company, because it gives quite a range on the legal side as well.
Now, PricewaterhouseCoopers is an international, very well-known company. How did you, how did it stay independent in this research and putting together of this guide?
Well, PwC, is independent in everything that it does, vis-a-vis clients and otherwise. And this guide is really an extension of the doing business guides that PwC has always been doing for doing business in various countries in the world. And it was sort of extended to doing business guide in the DIFC as well. So it's an objective guide that sets out, the processes and the procedures involved in actually setting up there. So objective and independent.
Do you actually have a team that is specialised in going to different countries, specifically with this task of putting together these business guides, or is it very much PricewaterhouseCoopers staff on the ground who have been here for a while?
Well, it's a combination of both, because one is you obviously need knowledge of the region, of the country that you're writing the doing business guide on, including that of the DIFC. And once that's compiled and the text is put together, then there's a central team within the network that actually ensures consistency on these guides across, in terms of branding, image, and everything else that goes with it.
Dubai International Financial Centre, it's well known, has aspirations to be a complete global centre of finance. Already there are over 700 companies registered, which is a good number. Will this global credit crisis stall that aspiration a little bit?
Obviously the global crisis has slowed everything down generally. So I think, possibly slowing as opposed to stalling. but we continue to see a lot of activity with people coming in terms of the interest that's being shown in the DIFC, because we assist a lot of potential applications with a licensing process in the DIFC, and that certainly there are lots in the pipeline.
Your company is obviously well known for this guide, particularly after the first edition. Is there any room for doing guides for other emirates?
Well, not at the moment. There are guides available which are done, I think, by the tourist boards of the individual emirates, and DIFC was sort of a specific guide for the centre. But we will, come up with plans on doing business in Dubai and Abu Dhabi in the major emirates in due course.
And how can people get hold of the 2009 edition?
The 2009 edition is in soft copy on both the PwC and the DIFC websites, so that's easily accessible and printable. The hard copies will be available at the DIFC and at our offices in the UAE and indeed around the world, because they will be going to various important financial centres where our offices are across the PwC network, as did the first guide.
And it's completely free?
And it's without a cost, yes.
Which is great in this current climate we're in.
Yes.
Well, Ashraf Jamal, we appreciate your time today. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot. Well, that's it for this edition of Inside Business. You can contact the programme by writing to ib@city7tv.com. For now, from all of us on the programme, goodbye and have a good weekend.